Hello everybody, we're back today for another tutorial. Today I'm going to be explaining bridges and changes between verses if you're writing a lyrically driven song. Okay, let's jump right into it. We don't need this automation track. We don't need this beat and bass line editor. Left click remove, left click on the gear icon, remove. Triple oscillator we do need. Okay, so we're going to keep that. Next thing, we're going to go to our presets. All of these presets. All of these instruments are going to be included once you first open LMMS Release Candidate 7. Okay, so we're going to come over here to the bit invader. Going to go to the bell, and the bell is extremely loud. So I'm going to take the bell down to 11 before I even select it. Okay. The next thing that we're going to be using is in my samples. We're going to click on drums. Left click on, we're going to come down here to the low 01. Okay. We can take this volume up a little bit here, take it up to 50%. And that's a left click and drag on that volume slider right here. Okay, Tom, the next thing we're going to add is the snare 3, left click and drag. Okay. The next thing we're going to add is the hi-hat. Hi-hat open. You have your hi-hat closed, you have your hi-hat foot pedal, and you have your hi-hat open. So we're just going to go with hi-hat open. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to go to the very bottom here. We're going to choose Zap 3. And then we can close out of this. The next thing we're going to do is get all of our instruments on our mixing channel. So let's go to, we have 6 instruments right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's a left click on this plus icon over here on your FX mixer. All right, so first thing we're going to do is open up the triple oscillator. We're going to rename the triple oscillator 808. And I'll explain why shortly. Now we're going to come down to FX mixer channel number 1. We're going to rename that 808. Enter. And then we're going to come to effects, and we're going to assign that to mixing channel number 1. Okay, so 808's assigned to mixing channel number 1. We're going to come to the bell, open up the bell, assign this to mixing channel number 2, and we're going to rename channel number 2 bell. We're going to close out of this. Come to the tom, open up the tom, assign it to mixing channel number 3, and that's a left click and drag in this little area right here. Double left click, and we're going to name this the tom. Enter. Okay, we can X out of this now. We're going to go to the snare. We don't need to rename the snare, so we just click that one time. Assign it to the mixing channel number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Double left click here, and we're going to name this the snare. We have our hi-hat open. We're going to open that up. Single left click. We're going to take that to the mixing channel number 5. Left click and drag. Double left click on the channel, and that's going to be hi-hat open, HHO. Okay, enter. And finally, we're going to come to the zap. We can close out of the hi-hat. Audio file processor. I'm going to assign this to mixing channel number 6, and again, that's a left click and a drag. And we're going to call this FX zap, FX zap, and enter. Okay, so we're going to bring our master back up, because right click on the master slider, reset, and that's going to take you back to a 1% or 100% or whatever it is, to the default. Now 808 is going to be running a little high, so I'm going to turn that down. The bell runs high. The tom's going to be running a little high. I'm going to take everything down to about 50%. And it's good to work with your instruments low at first, because at all times, I'd like you to come back and whenever you're doing playback, you want to look at that master and you don't want to see that master maxing out on red. It's bad for your speakers and it's bad for your sound because it'll clip out your sound. So if you uh, go ahead and mix here early and keep all your instruments low, but on an even keel, you can always uh, amplify it later when you take it to your wave editor, when you take it to your MP3 editor, like Audacity. Audacity is what I use. All right, so now we have everything assigned. We have our nomenclature and everything's good. Now we're going to call, the reason why we call this the 808, let's open up the triple oscillator, is because we're going to make this into an 808 sound. You can download many 808 sounds for LMMS, but I don't think there's really like a true 808 sound that is included in LMMS. I may be wrong. If you're watching this off of Reddit, please comment below and let me know where that 808 is. And again, I don't fuck with Zenad sub effects. So anybody who directs me to Zenad sub effects, if there's an 808 in there, that's cool. I appreciate that. Right now, I'm solely concentrating on this area of LMMS. The Zenad sub effects guy is some other dude. He ain't me. Okay. So what we're going to do here is turn this into a triple oscillator, and the triple oscillator, excuse me, an 808. And the 808, what that does, it's kind of like a ghost sound. It's like a sound that you feel more than you actually hear. And that's kind of a cool effect. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to, this knob right here is coarse detuning. We're going to left click, drag it down. This second oscillator, we're going to left click and drag it down. So all three of these are completely detuned. We'll take a listen to what it sounds like. And that's really low, so we can actually turn up this volume. Let's reset it, right click, reset. Now we're going to hit play. And that's what it sounds like. But I want that low sound, right? So I want to take this down to my, this is A. I want to take it down to my A3. So here's how we do that. Come to the 808, double left click and open up the piano roll. All right. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go to scale and we're going to choose a major scale. And we're going to come over here to the A note and we're going to first put our note here. Then we're going to right click on that A note and open this up and mark current scale. Now everything that's gray is going to be a note that's in that scale, and they're all going to marry each other well when you play them. Okay. So the next thing, I'd like you to look at this keyboard right here. If you have not seen the previous tutorials which I have done, you might notice that you don't have this notation. You have C5 and you're gonna have C4, but you're not gonna have B, A, G, F, E, D written. So very quickly, a quick little side note: you go to View, you go to Edit, you go to Settings, open up your settings. You want to be on your General Settings page. You want to come down to here. It says Enable Note Labels in Piano Roll. You want to light this up. You want to get this blue right here. Okay. And then you're going to hit OK, and it's going to say, please note that most changes won't take effect until you restart LMMS. So you're going to hit OK. So at this point, if you don't have this notation here, this is where you're going to save. You're going to file save as tutorial. Okay, and then you're going to X out of this entire thing and then reopen LMMS. And when you reopen LMMS, you're going to have this notation here on the side. All right, so moving forward, what we're going to do is assign random notes to make this 808 melody. And we're going to assign it on the 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a measure, this is a measure, this is a measure, this is a measure. Same thing as this is a bar, this is a bar, this is a bar, this is a bar. So the first bar, the beginning of the second bar, first beat of the third bar, and first beat of the fourth bar. Okay. Now we're going to shorten this to 2/16 notes. And we can go ahead and X out of this right now. Now we're going to play it. Actually, let me open this back up. We're going to play it. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we're gonna have one on the first beat, second, third measure, fourth measure, and then 2 over here. Okay, and it's gonna sound like this. Now, if you notice, there's a little clicking sound when you hear it. Let's hit play. You hear a click. That click is not professional, and that is not good. You don't want that click in there. So what we're going to do is open up our triple oscillator, and we're going to come over here just to the right of the plugin icon and click on this. Left click. We're going to take our amount all the way up, all right? And then we're going to come down here to low pass, and we're going to do 2 times low pass. And then now we're going to open this back up, hit play. And that click is gone. Okay, so if you're having problems constructing your 808, what you're going to do is you're going to take your amount and you're going to max it all the way up. You're going to go to 2 times low pass. And if there's ever a problem, you can take it up just a ant hair up on your attack. Okay, if it's still clicking, but this should kind of solve it right here. All right, so that's number 1. Now we're going to come over to our bell. All right, we're going to control left click and drag it into this first measure down here. Now this is our bell. We're going to open this up. Now, oh, before we do that, we're in A4 with our 808. So let me reopen up my 808 in the piano roll. We're going to come over here to our selection tool. And this is kind of like if you're in Photoshop, how you make a square around something. You select all of these notes. Okay. Then you're going to hit Control down arrow key. And now we're going to take that, and we've taken that A4 and we turned it into an A3. So now it's going to sound like this. And I jumped the shark on that when I screwed the pooch. We're going to go Control up because I actually did that to the bell. So let's come over here to the 808. Let's try that again. We're going to choose our select tool. Select all of those notes. Then we're going to hit Control down arrow key, and we've taken it down now to the A3. Now let's take a listen. That really low, and you feel it more than you hear it. And that's that really cool vibe, especially when you're in a club and you're dancing and everything is just kind of shaking and rattling around you. You can feel it in your sternum. It's a great effect. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is come back to the bell. The bell's in A4, so we're good. Now what we're going to do is choose our draw tool right up here. That's our icon. That's way fucking loud, man. Sorry about that, guys. Let me take it back down to 10. And we're going to do the same note across the measure, okay, where we started. Except for the last bar or measure here. Okay. So now this is our bell feature. Let me open up the bell, and I want to show you guys something. When I hit the bell, you're going to see 3 separate keys light up on this little keyboard area down here. Let me go ahead and click Stay on Top. Stay on Top. Click up here on the top left, and then choose Stay on Top. When I click on this bell, you're going to see 3 keys light up, and there's a point to this. 3 different keys light up, and that's why the bell is so loud. When I take it down to 10, it's almost kind of normal. And the reason why it's so loud is LMMS doesn't do any kind of compression for you. It doesn't do any type of muting for you. If you just stack sounds upon sounds, it's going to just get louder. It's going to stack one set of decibels on top of another set of decibels. So if you notice I hit that, it hits 3 keys at the same time. That's why it's just crazy loud. And we're going to talk about that later. Now let's X out of this. And we're going to talk about it right now, actually. Okay, so the 808 hits on the first beat of every measure, if you've noticed. So what I want to do is I want to come to this bell and I want to erase the bell at the first beat of every measure, because I don't want those two to clash. I don't want those two sounds to clash. Okay. And actually, I'm going to choose my select tool, because these are all selected, and then just left click to deselect all of those. And then I'm going to erase this one. After I pick my draw tool, I'm going to erase that one with a right left click. And I want to keep this. And then I'm going to hit that, and then I'm going to hit that again there. And what I'm going to do is come up to here to my bell, and I want to erase this first one. So we have your 808 is going to hit here, and your 808 is going to hit here, and that's going to be your first beat and your third beat. So I want to eliminate that sound so the sounds are not competing and they're not going to clash. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come to the tom, double left click on our tom, and we're going to go to this A. It's always going to be your default A unless you select otherwise. Okay, so also again, I don't want to put that tom at the same spot at that 808, because they're going to clash and there's going to be that weird fuzzy sound that's just batshit annoying. So I'm going to do this. I can take the sound up a little bit over here at the volume. Take it up to about 70. And then now we get to sample what it's going to sound like. Dun dun dun. Okay, and I also want to put another one here at the end on this fourth measure. On the fourth beat, excuse me, on the fourth beat. This is 3 2 3 3 2 3 4. So that's going to be the fourth beat of the third measure. Now let's take a listen. Okay, so it's not hitting on the 1, but you'll listen later. The 808 is going to be the one hitting on the 1 and giving us that kicky feel, if not the kicky sound. Now we're going to close this out. We're going to come to the snare. Again, if you're writing a trap beat is essentially a kick on the 1, a snare on the 3. So when I say 1, I mean you have 1, 2, 3, 4. These are 3 measures, or these are 4 measures or 4 bars that you're looking at. There are 16 16th notes per measure or bar, and there are 4 beats per measure. And if you come up to here to the time signature, that's what that means. There are 4 beats per measure. And this is a measure. So you have, let's come down to the A. 1, 2, 3. We're putting it on the third. 4, 2, 2, 3. 4, 3, 2, 3. 4, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we put a snare down on every third beat. Now what I want to do is we're going to take our skill, which we learned in the last tutorial. We're going to use our selection tool. We're going to select all of these instruments. We're going to come up here to our draw tool. You want to get that left and right arrow, and then we're going to take these down to 2/16 notes apiece. and we're going to move them all at the same time when you use our selection tool. Choose our selection tool, left click, and deselect all of these. Now come back to our draw tool, and then hit another 2/16 right after. And then actually what we're going to do is delete this, the first, and this one. So you have one here, double tap here, single tap here, double tap here. All right, so this is the melody for our first song. So everybody take a listen. Okay, so far so good. Now the next thing that we're going to do, and this is going to be the verse of our song, and this is going to be a verse-driven song. When I write my songs, I write them because I'm going to sing lyrics over top of them, or I'm going to rap lyrics over top of them. I'm not like Martin Garrix, who does just insanely awesome stuff with just music. Um, so I don't get way too fancy with it. I just don't want to get too monotonous with it. So this is definitely geared towards lyrics driven songs, lyrics driven rap beats for writers and lyricists. Okay, now that's out of the way. We're going to control, drag and drop, control, drag and drop, control, drag and drop, control, drag and drop. All right, so now I have this first part of my verse here, and I'm just going to repeat the second part of my verse, and I'm going to repeat the same thing. But I don't necessarily want to do that because I want there to be some kind of a change in between the first verse and the second verse. So let's see. I'm going to tinker with it, and I'm going to do something called a bridge. Now, for this particular bridge, normally I like to make my bridges about 2 measures, but today I'll make it 4 measures so you can see where I'm coming from, to give you a little bit more info on what I'm doing. So I'm going to come over to here, control, drag and drop. We're going to skip 4 measures, control, drag and drop, control, drag and drop, control, drag and drop. Come over here to the right hand side, we're going to open this up. Then we're going to control, drag and drop, control, drag and drop, control, drag and drop, control, drag and drop. Now, I already know who the non-noobs are going to say. They're going to say, just open up your beat and bass line editor, open this up, copy and paste this, and then you can just drag it across the whole thing. But that's not what I'm doing because I want to make changes individually in each one of these phrase signatures, okay? And you really can't do that in beat and bassline editor without actually creating a new track, which we've done here. I mean, you can do that in beat and bassline editor, but you'll figure it out. Like if you want to write a house beat, go with beat and bassline editor. But what I'm doing right now, we're actually going in and we can sculpt each and every one of these particular phrases that we have here, okay? And it just goes to production value. It's not any better or any worse than anybody else. This is just how I choose to construct my verse, my lyric-driven songs. Okay, so I'm going to close this out. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to let the 808 shine right here in this bridge part. So we're going to come down to the A4, and we have our A3. So I want to do this over here at the B3. Okay, so we've done this for actually we've done that for 2 measures, 3 measures. Now we're in the 4th measure here. And I'm going to open this up. And let me see what kind of vibe I'm feeling on this right now. Okay. Okay. me put that here. And like I said, you're gonna feel this more than you're gonna hear it. Okay, very good. We're gonna keep that. So now that's our little segue. That's our bridge. That's gonna link one verse to the next verse. Now I'm gonna come over here to my bell. I'm gonna open this up. Now I've opened this up on the first measure of this phrase right here, okay? And I want to show you, you're gonna have to come over to I want to go over to the third measure. And I want to take my bell and I want to put the bell twice in the third measure. Twice in the third measure and in the third beat of the third measure. And if you notice, this corresponds to that, okay? But you don't necessarily have to do that. Let me show you another way. You can also just come over to the third measure, open it up, but you're not going to come over 1, 2, 3. You're just going to do it right here in the first one, okay? So you're going to come over to B and do the same thing, all right? So as you're constructing, you do whatever makes you feel comfortable. Okay, so now the next thing that I'm going to do is going to take my hi-hat. I'm going to open up my hi-hat right here, and I'm going to play my hi-hat, the A4, at the fourth beat of the fourth measure of this phrase right here. Okay. And let me check my tom. I'm going to eliminate that fourth measure because I don't want that to clash right there. So this was going to clash with this, so I eliminated this and we're good. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to put my snare. We're going to open up my snare. I want to put my snare at the third of the second of the first and the second. So we're going to go to A, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then nothing here. And now we're going to take our little zap, and this is where it's going to get corny, but don't worry about that because right now we're not worried about the actual sound. We are worried about, let's see, we're worried about making a little interlude in between the verses and just kind of breaking up the monotony. So what I want to do is I want to add my little zap here after the third here in the fourth measure of this particular phrasing. And this phrasing is called the bridge. Okay. Let's see it. Let's see what this sounds like. Play. See what that sounds like. Okay. That's a nice little corny. Then we're going to take our hi-hat. And in the last beat of this measure right here, we're going to put our hi-hat right here in the fourth beat of the fourth measure of this phrase right here, okay? Okay, so now let's take a listen to, we have our verse 1, we have our bridge, and then we go back into our verse again. Okay, let's listen. So what we've done there is before every change, we have our verse, then we change and we put a little hi-hat there, opened, and what we're doing is we're announcing the change that's about to come. So the change occurs and we go into our bridge. And just as the bridge is about to end, we do that little zap thing and announce that we're going to make another change and come back to our verse. So now I'm looking at this song and I come to the end of it. I click here at the top and I look, it's only 34 seconds long. And then I look over here, I come here to the end of our first phrasing, and that's only 13.5 seconds. So really, that's way too soon for me to actually put a full-on bridge in. So now that I'm playing around with this song, I'm not liking that, because I wanna flow my verse, and then I want to flow directly into my second verse. So now I'm going to show you a second way how to announce that transition, or how to break up the monotony between the two verses. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to come over here to our bridge, and we're going to move our entire bridge section way out here. Okay. And that's going to be a left click, drag, and drop. Left click, drag, and drop. Now what I'm going to do is what I didn't want to do initially, but I think I'm going to play with it right now. So what I'm going to do is butt up my first and second verses together here. Okay. And that's a left click, drag, and drop. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my bridge here at the end. And that might be, so my bridge is going to be there at the end. So now we have verse 1 right here, and then we're going to have verse 2. I'm going to go to my second set of verses. Now, let me go ahead and stop that right now. So what I'm going to do, here's a little trick. I'm going to come to the 808, and everything that's behind the third beat on the fourth measure of this second phrase here, I'm just going to eliminate it. Let me eliminate. Come to the bell. I'm going to eliminate everything after the third beat in the fourth measure. Okay. I'm going to come to my tom. Now the tom actually hits right here. So even though this goes beyond, that's your tail end, that's where it's decaying. So that's fine. I'm eliminating everything that hits before the third beat and the fourth measure. So that's fine right there. Go to our snare. And I want to eliminate the snare. And I'm sorry, we went to our snare. Now we're at our tom right here, and the tom's fine. So that's good. And what I want to do here is come to my hi-hat, and I just want to hit my hi-hat twice. I'm going to hit my hi-hat where that snare was going to go. And I've already done that down here. I got my snare. Okay, let's take a listen and just see what it sounds like. And we can always go back and tweak it. So we have our first verse, and then we're announcing a change, and then we're going back to our first verse, and then we do not announce the change, but we go into our bridge. Let's take a listen. Okay, so we did not have a change here after this set of phrasing, and I'm just going to do a simple change. I'm going to go ahead and take this hi-hat, open, drag and drop it right here. So we're going to get that sound just before your transition. And since I've added this, what I want to do is get rid of my bell here, because that's going to clash with my bell. It sounded a little bit nasty when I just did that. So let's try it again. Okay, there's something else that's hidden there where my hi-hat hits. I don't want that. And that's going to be, what is that? That's my snare. So I'm going to eliminate this snare that hits at the same time. And it's going to get rid of that nasty sound. Play. I don't know if we got rid of that nasty sound. Let's come up to our 808 and we're going to eliminate that. Let's try it again. Now that was much cleaner. That's what we wanted to do. That was beautiful. And actually, yeah, we're just going to leave it like that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to copy this initial phrasing, the initial two phrases of our verse. So we're going to go to Control, drag and drop. Control, hit Control, drag and drop. Left mouse click, Control, left mouse click, drag and drop. Control, left mouse click, drag and drop. Okay. Control, left click, mouse click, drag and drop. And it's going to be these two phrases. Don't go anywhere else because remember, we've augmented this. This is not the same as this one. Control, left click, drag and drop. Control, left click, drag and drop. Control, left click, drag and drop. And then finally, we're going to do that with this. Okay, so that's it. That's how we've made a transition, and we've made an announcement of our transition in two ways on this particular tutorial. So over here, we have gone to the fourth measure of the final phrase, and then we just tweaked a little bit and gave it a little hi-hat and gave it a little introduction into what's coming next. Okay, over here, we've done the same thing. We've tweaked it a little bit to give it a little introduction that something new is coming. And what's new is coming is this bridge. And when the bridge is open, when the bridge is over, we give you a little zappy zap to let you know we're about to make another transition. And this is kind of like the grandfather of the drop. This is how drops are made, but much more intricately, like in dubstep and all that stuff. So this is simple. So this is called, I don't know what this is called, but we're just augmenting the final fourth measure, the final measure of the phrase before the transition, or we're not augmenting it, but what we're doing is making a bridge between whatever's coming next. So this is verse 1 right up to this point. This is verse 2 right up to this point. This is your bridge, and this is verse 1 or your chorus or whatever you want to go into next. Okay, you're writing the songs, you're running the show, so you don't have to follow anybody else's lead. I mean, you could be the next new innovator, so don't try to follow other people, but you can take just little tricks and tips here and there and kind of finesse your own style. All right, so now that that's done, let's take one final listen, and then I'm going to do another tutorial because I was on Reddit and somebody asked about what's a good effect, and I'm going to show you how we're going to augment our bell effect here as soon as we take a listen to this final. Verse 1. Verse 1, yeah. 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 What? Verse 1, yeah. Verse 2, yeah. Verse 2, yeah. This is verse 2, yeah. Gonna switch it up now, gonna switch it up, said, gonna switch it up now, gonna switch it up. Gonna switch it up now, gonna switch it up, said, gonna switch it up now, gonna switch it up. Into the bridge, into the bridge, yeah. Into the bridge, yeah. Into the bridge, yeah. This is the verse, 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 yeah. Gonna switch it up, gonna switch it up, gonna switch it, gonna switch it up, gonna switch it up, gonna switch it, gonna switch it up, gonna switch it up, gonna switch it, gonna switch it up, gonna switch it up. And you put your lyrics there. Okay, so now that's how you create your segues and your introductions into a new section. Okay, so now we're gonna open up this bell. And this bell has a really dongy sound. So what I want to do is I want to change the sound. And somebody was on Reddit, like I said earlier, and they wanted to know an effect. Somebody recommended reverb, which I'm going to do the same, but I'm going to recommend a different type of reverb. And I actually got this from Cubition, who does great tutorials. You're going to come down here to your C star, and it's called plate. And it's actually reverb, but it's not quite the same as the other calf reverb. And the calf reverb is kind of automatically going to do it for you. I went to the wrong effect. Remove this plugin, add effect. We're going to go to the C star plate. Come to the plate, 2x2 versatile plate reverb. Going to click OK. Okay, we clicked OK. And when you're messing around with your effects, you want to do this with each effect, and I'll show you. These are your knobs here. Just hit it, and you have that sound. So now we're going to just move one. Take your bandwidth up all the way. And it doesn't seem like it affected the sound too much. Right click, reset value. Now come over to the tail, crank it up all the way, see how it changes. It gives a little bit of a tail. There's like a resonance to that. We're going to right click and reset. Now we're going to listen to our blend, crank the blend up all the way. And that's kind of taking away the ding. It's just giving it this hollow sound, right? And then reset. And now take our damping all the way up. And it didn't really do too much, but I'm going to take this all the way down. I'm going to take the bandwidth all the way up. And like I said, Cubician taught me this little trick by checking out his tutorials. Now we're going to take a listen. You have that hollow sound, but I really want that little ding in the bell, right? So what I'm going to do is come over here to my wet value. And I'm going to decrease. I just want to hear a slight ding when I'm hearing that bell. I want to hear less of a ding, which means I went the wrong way. I want to hear less of a ding, so I'm going to take it here. I think that's good. So what we've done is we've gone to effects change, C-star plate 2x2, and this is a reverb right here. And you're just going to have to play with it yourselves. Play with all the knobs until you get it to where you want it to go. This is the sound I'm going for right now. So I'm happy. So now this song, we're going to listen to the song one last time before I let you go. And it's going to have like a hollow, creepy feel to it. And let's hit play. Whoops, guess what? I'm not going to let you go just yet. Okay, now as you're listening, do you hear that weird fucking annoying sound? It's like a All right, let's take a listen. You hear that? I don't want that fucking sound at all. I don't like that at all. That sounds like fucking ass nuggets. So here's what we're going to do. That sound happens every time the bell and the 808 sound at the same time because they're clashing out. They're clashing out and they're going to clip each other out and they're just going to make a fucking nasty mess. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to sidechain compress. Now I'm going to come to the 808. I'm going to open up my 808. I'm going to go to my FX right here. I'm going to go to Add Effect, and I'm going to type in Peak Controller. Now I'm going to select Peak Controller. Okay. Now I'm going to come over here. The most important thing you want to know about is this bass amount. You want to drop your bass amount. And the reason why you're dropping your bass amount is for the length of the time that the whatever's controlling the peak is playing, it's going to control whatever you want to manipulate. And I just want to manipulate it at the moment where it hits, and that's that first 16th note. So I'm going to take my bass down to 0. Okay. Now that's done. We're going to come over here to this icon, which looks like a piece of paper, and that's going to be our project notes. And the first project note, which I've neglected to make actually, is that this is a major scale in the key of A. Okay, and then specifically, we're in A4. All right, that's where our bell is. We're in A4. So you want to make that note because when you X out of this and then you come back to it, you might have forgotten what scale you're in. You might forget well, you're not going to forget what keys because you're going to know by your notation. But you might forget what scale you're in if you're working in a scale, and then you can always go ahead and reassign that scale. And the second thing that we have to add is peak controller. 1 is your 808. Now, it is very important. Controller 1 is 808. It's very important to make a note of this because if you add multiple, I think you can possibly add up to 3 peak controllers. per project. You may be able to add more. I don't know. It always RC-7 release candidate 7 kind of acts funny if I try to add more than 3. So P controller 1 is the 808, and if you can add up to 3, and it's going to add in the order which you have created your peak controller. So if I leave this project and come back and I have 3 peak controllers, I'm going to forget which one I assigned first. So now I'm going to have to go back, and it's a fucking headache. So really just come up to your project notes, put it in your project notes, and you can always refer to it later when you come back to the project. All right. Okay, so that's number 1. Now we're going to come over to the bell. And what I want the bell to do is I want the decibels on the bell to drop every time that 808 hits, so we don't get that nasty sound every time the 808 hits. So what we're going to do is come to Effects. We're going to go to Add Effect. We're going to type up in the top here sidechain. That's one word, sidechain. Compressor. Cast sidechain compressor is what you want. You're going to click on that. You're going to click OK. Okay, so first off, we're going to take that ratio all the way up. I want that volume to drop. I want it to drop like a fucking hot potato as soon as that 808 hits. Okay, and now we're going to go to our SC level. Right click on your SC level, connect to controller. Number 1, first thing. We're going to go to our user controller. All right. We're at our user controller. We're going to select controller number 1, and we're going to click OK. Now I'm going to play this song through, and I want everybody to take a look. I want everybody to take a look at this SC level. What's going to happen is this bell right here is going to drop. The levels are just going to drop every time you hear that 808 sound, and it should not have that clashing. All right, so let's take a listen. So this is the last run through. Listen, I appreciate you guys watching. If you're on Reddit, ask some questions on LMMS, and you know, it's fun for me. I'm a noob. I'm definitely a noob. I didn't go to school for this. I learned this through like YouTube tutorials myself. So if you're a noob, ask me. I can probably relate to you better and kind of give you instruction, because I'm down here not knowing too much of anything. So the pros, they've forgotten more than I already know, so they're going to gloss over a lot of stuff, and they're going to be hitting buttons all over the place that you don't even know what's going on. So ask questions in our LMMS on Reddit, and if I read one that I can answer, I'm going to try to answer it. Listen, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoy. I'll see you next time.